Watch and burn.
Hey everyone. So tonight I want to discuss. Tonight I would like to discuss Catch-22's first one, and that is Keasbey Nights. This was released way back around 97 to 2000, somewhere in there. I picked it up around 99, 2000. I found out about Catch-22, I think on some punk rock sampler. I think Mustard Plug was on there with Never Be, and I think Against All Authority was on there as well. And Catch-22's, I think it was American Pie was on there. And the reason that it grabbed me was because it's Catch-22, or this band, Catch-22, with that song, they had sort of covered all of the punk rock bases that at that point that I needed to be covered in order for me to fall in love with the record. And that is, there was ska, and there were trumpets with the ska, and then it got fast and thrashy, and then it got kind of like metalish at times. And I really like American Pie. I like the message in that song, and I've always liked that song, except this was fast, ska-like, trumpety, catchy, fun, and short. The song was in and out in 2 minutes. So I was like, all right, so this band Catch-22, and at this point, of course, you didn't exactly have Spotify to check them out and decide if whether or not you wanted to actually lay down a bunch of greenbacks, or wait, no, I'm in Canada, so a bunch of colored backs, a bunch of purple and blue and green and orange and yellow backs. Canadian money is so much more fun than American money. Anyways, yeah, I didn't know if I wanted to lay down a bunch of loonies and toonies to buy this record. You didn't really have a choice. You could check it out on Spotify, like I was saying, but back then you had no choice. So I just said, fuck it, and I bought this record. And, okay, so here it is, 2023, so it's like, 23 or so years later. I can't listen to this record anymore. This record is so catchy, and it's so much fun. I mean, Keasbey Nights is on here. When they come for me, I'll be sitting at my desk with a gun in my hand, wearing a bulletproof vest. That's like one of the catchiest choruses in ska punk history. 9mm in a 3-piece suit is on here. And what I like about 9mm in a 3-piece suit is when you say it, you sound like the band. 9mm in a 3-piece suit. It sounds like he says it in the song. So yeah, 9mm in a 3-piece suit's on here. Keasbey Nights is on here. Dear Sergio's on here. Giving Up, Giving In is on here. Of course, the title track, did I say that? Keasbey Nights, yeah. And then the album closer is an incredibly catchy and incredibly sad song called As the Footsteps Die Out Forever. And it's about somebody, perhaps one of the people in the band, and of course the band is massive. When you have a horn section, in addition to having a couple of guitar players, a bass player, a drummer, and a vocalist, this is very quickly becoming a 7 to 10 piece band. So I imagine that one of the 7 to 10 people in the band had to experience this with a family member, potentially a mother, because that's what the song is about. It's about somebody's parent dying, and don't wait for me, I've got a lot to do, I've got a lot to be, but in the end, maybe I'll see. Yeah, that's it. Fucking right. I almost thought I forgot. I kept thinking the song was something else in my head, so I'm trying to talk about it, but the whole time, I kept singing the other song in my head, and for some reason, I kept seeing those old 7-Up commercials, where the guy from Mad TV is like, hey, 7, up yours! And then I thought of the 7-Up guy, the little drawn guy with the wobbly hair, and then I thought of Guile from Street Fighter, all within those 5 seconds while I was attempting to discuss As the Footsteps Die Out Forever. And then I remembered the song, so I'm okay now, but Jesus Christ, man, sometimes it's just they fucking fly in and I can't control them. I absolutely love how the kick on this, like the bass drum, sounds like a fucking tennis ball. That, aside from the fact that this is some of the catchiest ska punk in the world, I love the kicks. Like that, like I said, they sound like tennis balls. And like the rhythm section, like the bass guitar does such a good job of complementing the kicks and to help them sound more like tennis balls. And you could isolate the kick drum on this and I could still listen to this record like nonstop, because in addition to loving the catchiness of the lyrics and the melodies of the vocal delivery and the music in general, I absolutely love the bass drum on this. Like the kicker is so much fun. And this record is so well realized. I get like a Reservoir Dog sort of vibe from this record. And I think that's probably the point. And it's a shame that Catch-22 didn't end up getting more recognition than they had, because I know here it is all these years later and it's over. Like, ska punk bands have a hard enough time finding legitimacy in the big world of music to begin with. Ska punk is always sort of, or ska in general, is always sort of seen as being this sort of outlier thing. Like, especially sped up ska, like the Aquabats and shit. That stuff's for kids. And actually, specifically, I would argue that the Aquabats are predominantly for children. And if you're an adult who's into them, I'm not saying that to insult you. They're a great band, but they do seem to be more kid-focused. And unfortunately, I found that with a lot of ska, or a lot of more like speedier ska, and definitely the more like speedier ska punk, it always tends to kind of get lumped into children's entertainment. Pop punk, I find that happens with a lot too. Like right now, for anybody that doesn't know, there's not a lot of pop punk on the radio or on TV or whatever, but fucking Paw Patrol is keeping pop punk alive. So maybe in 20 years, when all the 5-year-olds who are into Paw Patrol are of band forming age, because of the music they grew up with listening to every day at the start of Paw Patrol, pop punk and like punk in general will have this huge resurgence due to kid shows like Paw Patrol keeping it alive. Paw Patrol's keeping pop punk alive. There's a statement I never thought I would say. But yeah, this record's amazing. The artwork is cool. The attitude and the sort of atmosphere created by this record, it's sort of badass. And I think it's mainly because of the lyrics in Keasbey Nights / 9mm in a 3-piece suit. It's like very gunplay-ish, like we're gonna die in a gunfight or some shit. And it's super cool. But yeah, so I think I'll leave it there. So thank you so much for hanging out with me while I discussed Catch-22's first full-length from way back, and that is Keasbey Nights, or at least I think this is the first full-length from way back, called Keasbey Nights. Like always, if you like this review, don't forget to do something nice for somebody, but most importantly, please don't forget that the world is actually a better place because you are in it. I'm gonna go. Have a good night.